Well, everyone, it's time for us to go ahead and talk about the Magic Keyboard 2 and see how this specific keyboard holds up in 2022. Now, the first thing I want to tell you is, in my opinion, out of all the keyboards that I've currently used in my whole entire life, the Magic Keyboard is just one of those keyboards I just keep going back to. It is probably the best keyboard I've personally used and I do think as the second generation keyboard that this thing was, it was a big jump from the first generation that Apple made. I've also bought that thing. I think I've reviewed it back in the day too, or just like last year. But with the Magic Keyboard 2, this is my daily usage keyboard. This is the one I use every single day, and I've talked about this for many years now, and it's so weird to me that when I look back at a video like in 2017 or 2018, when I first talk about this thing, there are still so many people who watch that video, compared to it being a 2018 video. It still gets maybe like 40 views, which is not a lot every day, but for a 4-year-old video, that just shows me that people are still looking at this keyboard as something to buy. And I can tell you right now, I am 100% willing to recommend this keyboard to anybody out there. If you have a Windows PC, if you have a Mac, whatever you have, this works really well with those specific devices. Now, with Macs particularly, that's what I use it for. If you have a Windows, it may be a little bit of a different story. I personally use Magic keyboards like this one, the Magic Keyboard 2, on my Windows PCs, and it's been a good experience. I've also used Magic trackpads and Magic mouses on Windows PCs, but there are limited functionality there, so keep that in mind. With the Magic Keyboard though, I think this is a really good pickup, and now that we have kind of like a third generation Magic Keyboard out, I still think this Magic Keyboard is still completely worth it for sure. Now, starting off with the outside, it's nothing complicated. We have the keys on the front, and these are right before Apple switched over to their butterfly keyboard. These were full-on, full-size keyboards with a bunch of travel, and they work very well. Sometimes I just pick up this keyboard and kind of rub my fingers around the buttons because they just feel so great. Even with my, MacBook keyboard, it's the same functionality, it's the same exact thing, and that's a really cool thing about this keyboard. Now, I will say the design of this keyboard is also extremely nice. I've personally been using this Magic Keyboard for about, I think, 4 or 5 years now. I've not replaced it, it's not broken on me yet either, and I've been using this specific Magic Keyboard, I think, for about 2 years now. I did end up spilling water on my old one, and that stopped working, but weirdly enough, it's working again, which is so crazy, and I've been using that keyboard for another machine. So, that keyboard I've been using for about 5 years now, and this keyboard I've been using for about, I think, like 2 years now. So these two Magic keyboards still work great, which is fine, but my original one still works and looks perfectly fine as well. No complaints there. Now, this thing as well is just so timeless. I feel like you can still use this keyboard 10-15 years from now and it's still going to look very good as well. I will say the best thing about it is that charging port on the back. Thank God Apple didn't go ahead and randomly just, put a charging port on the bottom of this thing, because that would have ruined my experience with this thing. The fact that you can plug this thing in and actually use it while charging it is really cool. They didn't pull a Magic Mouse on us, and I think that was a really awesome thing as well. Now, this thing functions as a normal keyboard, so there really isn't anything super crazy going on with this keyboard. There's no cool features, nothing like that. It works as a standard keyboard, as most of us know. The only thing I could even think of is that, the lack of a Touch ID sensor that the new keyboards have. I think that's kind of cool, but it's really not the end of the world, and I don't even think that's worth going from, this keyboard to the next one, to be completely honest. Now, I will say on top of that, having a keyboard like this for the future is extremely cool, because most of the, newer macOS versions and Mac keyboards that are going to come out in the future are going to be supported with this thing as well. So any cool functionality Apple brings, it's going to be supported on this. And anytime I go ahead and click one key on this thing, it turns on. Anytime I go ahead and do anything with this keyboard, it is so seamless with the majority of my different products I have. Now, with my Windows machines, it was kind of the same thing too, but I've always felt like the input was just so much better on my, Macs with this keyboard. Like if I clicked one button, it was just automatically on. With Windows, a little bit of a different story. I will also add to that, the battery life has been really good on this Magic keyboard. I say I charge it maybe once every month and a half, maybe once every 2 months. I use this thing almost every single day, and I will say it still lasts me a very long amount of time. The battery life on this keyboard is not the thing I think about, and I'm like, oh, it's not a good keyboard because of this. That is not the case. I barely think about charging this thing, and if it needs to be charged, my Mac will tell me, and then I can just go ahead and plug it in and pretty much move on from there. Now, I will also add that the price of this thing has gone down significantly, so because of the newer keyboards, it honestly just makes a little bit more sense to buy this thing too at the end of the day. So when it comes down to it, I think this Magic keyboard is completely still worth it. I think it's a smart move from Apple when they made this keyboard originally, and I think it's a very solid option to still pick up. Would it be the first keyboard I'd recommend to people? Honestly, maybe if you want to go get that Touch ID MacBook keyboard, then go for it. The Magic keyboard, then go for it. But other than that, I don't really see obviously a big reason to go get that if you currently have one of these. And I think that's probably one of the bigger things to keep in mind. So that kind of covers it up. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.